Hey, church family. Last night we had a business meeting, and while many things were brought up for conversation, there was one conversation and a motion in particular that was passed that the elders and I think is important for you to be updated on in case you weren't able to be at the business meeting. Um, that conversation, that motion had to do with our next step in finding or satisfying our worship ministry needs, whether that be through some type of paid position or a continuation in the current way in which we're conducting ourselves, our worship ministry on Sunday mornings. So just to kind of explain that a little bit, it was brought up that the church seems unclear on the direction that we need to go. Is the church in favor, more particularly for a part-time, non-pastoral position? Is the church in favor of a full-time pastoral position? Or is the church potentially in favor of continuing in this current model that we're doing? As you know, last week, Pastor Jared and I broke down and explained how we are organizing our worship ministry week in and week out, and that is through the use of various identified teams, whether that's the praise team, whether that's the AV team, whether that's the specials team or the choir team, and I'm kind of acting as a communications hub, sort of a coordinator and overseer of all those different things to bring everything together in a less traditional fashion. I'm not acting as a typical worship pastor or typical worship director who's leading in the front. I'm just sort of a behind-the-scenes figure who's helping coordinate these different volunteer teams. And so it got brought up that there's these three visions, these three directions that the church seems to be pulled in. We have a sizable amount of people who might advocate for either one of these three positions. And nearly a year has almost passed since we went down this road, since we were in need of deciding what we were going to do with our worship ministry as it regards to this. And so people's opinions have changed, people's ideas on this have changed, and that's been voiced to us. And so ultimately, our will is to carry out the desire of the church. What is the desire for the church going forward in terms of our worship ministry? How will it be led? How will it be coordinated? How will we move going forward with our worship ministry here at the church? The personnel committee needs that feedback. The elders and pastors need that feedback. And so one thing that we're going to do to kind of help lay that path out, it was brought up as a motion in the business meeting, is that a few weeks from now, as soon as the personnel committee is able to meet, they are going to lay out and write down three visions of worship ministry. One of those will include a part-time, non-pastoral position. It'll be a vision for what that might look like, what that person might do, and how we might go about, paying them, and so on and so forth. It'll be a vision for a non-pastoral part-time position. What does that look like, and what might they do? It may not be a comprehensive responsibilities set. It may not be a job description, but it'll be a general vision for that role, that position. It will also create for you another vision of a full-time pastoral position. What might this person do? What would they be doing? What would be a general idea of how they operated and conducted themselves? And how might we potentially pay for that were we to go that route? And then a third vision would be, what if we just keep doing what we're doing? What if we just keep doing this, where we have volunteer teams who are week in and week out committing themselves to making sure everything functions and flows like it should, and having one of the pastors oversee those teams. Because if you, this past Sunday is a good example. If you're like, well, what does that look like? Well, imagine this past Sunday. We had specials, we had the praise team up there, we had everybody in their position so that we could make worship happen on Sunday morning, and I kind of oversaw that. I kind of coordinated that, brought all those pieces together, relying on these other teams to kind of help me do that. And so those are the three visions. This motion got brought up. The personnel committee is going to write out and present in conjunction. I imagine they're going to get feedback from the elders. What are these three positions? What do these three visions look like? This will be given to you, the church. You'll have at least 2 weeks to review and check it out. And then at which point we will have a special called business meeting to discuss it. There will be 45 minutes allotted to a discussion. This will be immediately after services on a Sunday morning. If you're a member, You're invited to come. You're invited to ask questions. You're invited to be a part of the conversation of what does our church want as far as going forward with our worship ministry. After that time, we'll vote. We'll put it to a vote. Which one of these three positions would our church like to pursue? And then we'll get the results from that, and that will guide the elders and the personnel committee on which one of these visions are we going after. What do we want as a church when it comes to our worship ministry? This is an important thing, important step, important process that needs to happen. It's an important conversation that needs to happen. All of us know and recognize that this is a very vital and critical part of our church ministry here. And we all want ultimately we all want the same thing. We want to glorify and honor God. We want to be effective in reaching our community, and so on and so forth. So I want to encourage you in that this is just a part of the system that our church must go through in order to achieve those goals that we have in mind. And so be praying about that, be thinking about that, and be looking for updates on that as we get those visions produced and out to you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Give me a call, Pastor Jared a call, or you know all the right avenues. So thank you guys.